I can't stop feeling. Oh,
You
well,
should've
do
said
I do
Jackson.
but
You
you could
should've
you
said
dance,
Can't Stop the
dance,
Podcast.
dance. Oh yeah, can't stop the podcast. Run out, you got boop bop boo, and just dance, dance, dance. Come on,
Got this
all the
feeling in
things
my
have been
headphones.
of you dancing. I can't stop the podcast. Hi, my name is Jackson
Got this
McMurray.
feeling in my headphones. My name is Adeline McMurray.
And this, regrettably, is No Nerds Allowed.
And we will be in Trolls 3.
No, we can't play this game.
What? Come on. I gotta say, I am very happy that we're in the timeline where the McMurray Brothers are actually in Trolls 2.
Yeah,
Because there
okay.
was definitely a universe where they weren't, and I'm so glad we're in this one.
So, before, I don't want it to dominate our discussion, but
Yeah, no, totally.
McElroy Brothers, podcasters extraordinaire, of which we are both fans, started
Yes.
a podcast called The McElroy Brothers Will Be in Trolls 2, in which they just recorded a podcast every once in a while about how badly they wanted to be in Trolls 2, and they managed to leverage it into actually being miscellaneous voice talent in Trolls 2.
Yeah. Well, because the whole thing was in Trolls 1, they got, like, YouTubers no one had ever heard of to be, like, background trolls.
Right.
So they were like, we're mildly famous, let's do that. And then Trolls people were like, okay. Which is just weird.
Okay.
I don't understand corporate America.
So, before we get into it, Adeline, what are your thoughts on Trolls 1?
My thoughts, I think it is one of the more successful reboots of iconography from the 80s that nobody cares about.
Uh-huh.
Because, see, I was thinking about this. I was like, I don't mind the Trolls movie, and here's why.
Right.
It's because they successfully update themselves in a way that's effective and not... It's not, like, pandering to... There's not a lot of nostalgia factor, except for, like, the
Right.
old music that they use, and that's really nice. The mistake that the Smurfs made is that they didn't update themselves in any way, shape, or form. And
Well,
then
the Smurfs, the
expected-
people who made the Smurfs movie expected you to give a shit about the Smurfs, but
yeah, exactly. The
nobody
Trolls people were
does.
like, they sat down and they were like, no one gives a fuck about trolls. How do we
Right.
make little kids give a fuck about trolls? And then they
You
did
have to-
something very effective.
Right, you have to make people give a fuck about trolls. They don't.
Yeah.
They
And
didn't
this-
try to make you give a fuck about Smurfs. They assume you already gave a fuck, which you do not.
And nobody gives a fuck about the Smurfs. I cannot tell you one person. Someone's great aunt somewhere cares a lot about the Smurfs, and she cares for them, so the rest of us don't have to.
What about Jake Gyllenhaal's character in Donnie Darko?
I have not
Checkmate,
seen Donnie
Adeline.
Darko. Because
Well,
there's
it's
a scary
a-
rabbit in it, and I don't like the
it's-
scary rabbit.
It's a good movie, but it is a bummer. That movie, like, genuinely, not to just talk about Donnie Darko on our Trolls episode,
Yeah, go ahead.
but Donnie Darko is, like, seriously just it in the truest sense of the word, it is a depressing movie. It genuinely, like, sucks the energy out of you.
Is it not scary? I thought it was scary.
No, it's not scary. It's just like an emotional movie about a kid on the cusp of teenhood that is really sad and has
Yeah.
some issues.
Did they talk
and-
about him jacking off like they do in Angela's Ashes?
No. Well, maybe. I don't remember.
Okay.
There is a sexual element, but it's not gross.
Got it.
But there is a famous sequence where him and his shithead friends, one of which is Seth Rogen, I think,
That makes
before
sense.
he was Seth Rogen. But when they all talk about how the Smurfs have sex, and it goes on for like 4 minutes. That's why I'm talking about it.
Is it
Anyway.
really funny? Is it that hard, cutting edge, just kind of twisted humor?
I mean, look, it is okay. First of all, Donnie Darko's a great movie.
Okay.
I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Second of all, it's not. So basically, it's like these shithead kids are like, oh, what's the deal with Smurfs? Like, how do they have sex if they're all dudes? Do they all have sex with Smurfette? What's up with that? And then Jake Gyllenhaal is like, oh my god! Everybody knows that Papa Smurf charges all the Smurfs to have sex with Smurfette! And he gets like super mad and like storms off, and all of them are like, oh, what? Like, oh, is something wrong with Donnie? Like, what's going on?
Okay, so it has a purpose, is what you're telling me.
Exactly,
It's related
yeah.
to the plot.
And that's not exactly how it goes, but it's something like that. The
Gotcha.
point is that the rest of them are like shooting the shit, talking something stupid about Smurfs, and then Jake Gyllenhaal gets really upset about it.
Gotcha.
Anyway, Trolls is a movie that I find marginally tolerable. If it were 1 degree more annoying than it is, I would be in full fuck this movie mode. But
Okay.
it's not.
Yeah.
So it's okay, fine. It's annoying, but it also has its merits enough that I can survive to the end of it.
Things that I like about the first Trolls movie. Again, I think it's a very successful reboot of like getting that new generation to get involved in the Trolls action. Very effective. Mm-hmm. It really like makes a choice with its aesthetic and totally sticks to it the whole movie, and I think it's very visually appealing. Like the animation and like the character design are very fun and very appealing and very colorful, and the whole like scrapbook aesthetic is just like so good, and they totally capitalize on it in the second one. Like every time there's like around water and it's like glitter or like confetti or like glitter, I'm like, yeah, this is dope. I love this.
Yeah, water rules.
It's a music
It's annoying.
video.
You can just say it. It's annoying.
It's not annoying. It's like a music video that you show your kids on YouTube on one of those weird animation sites that's probably made in India and might pause to tell your kid how to kill themselves, maybe.
That's not annoying? Like, you don't think that's annoying?
It's like it's like someone took like 5 of those and then connected them with a plot. And some of the time when they sing, it's really fun. And other of the times when they sing, I'm like, why? Hey guys, hey.
So, you mentioned that it's colorful and that you like that.
Yes.
I have a take about that.
Okay.
Things being pretty is a result of making distinct and specific choices, especially when you're talking about color, right?
Yes.
I would argue that all the colors is not a valid color palette for a movie, or for a scene, or for a shot, or for anything.
But here's the thing. I just turned into John Mulaney, but here's the thing, is that I would say that is a good argument, except it's not, because they do make decisions about that, because when you're in Trollland, it is rainbow, but then the rest of the time when you're other places, there's other color palettes. Like when you're in Bummer Town with all the people that sing that song by the Gorillaz, it's all like gray and brown and green and gross colors.
I totally forgot everything about Trolls 1, I'm just now realizing.
Yeah, I can tell. You don't have it memorized like I do.
Still, though,
you don't remember when the little prince guy is on his big wheeler going up the stairs to a hip-hop version of the Mountain King?
That's right. Okay. So
that's very fun. I actually quite enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, I do too. Just in general, I am annoyed by pop song like needle drops in movies like 85% of the time. And Trolls 2 is like pop song needle drop : the movie.
Yeah.
It's like literally the whole movie is just like built around the most annoying possible pop song needle drops.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself is a hurdle for me.
So what I did to convince myself that I was okay with all the needle drops is that I had to go, Adeline, this movie isn't for you. It's for parents and children. And parents know these songs, and the children are learning them for the first time and are happy to hear covers of them. So it's just introducing classic songs to children, and I'm okay with that.
I'm concerned about the tone we've taken so far in this podcast.
I thought we created a very safe space. What do you not like about the energy?
Because the energy I was expecting to go into this podcast about Trolls World Tour with was, what the fuck? This is the weirdest, craziest movie I've ever seen, and it's so annoying. And we're talking in a really level manner right now. And I feel like I can only go so long before I blow a gasket.
Well, we're just gonna have to wait for that bomb to go off, my friend.
Okay. So, regarding pop song needle drops in this movie, in favor of Trolls World Tour, I think it is smarter about the way it deploys them.
Absolutely.
Because in the original movie, they would use these pop songs as musical numbers within the story, right?
Yeah.
It would be the character singing the song in order to express themselves, right?
Yeah.
Which sucks because it's a song written for a totally different reason than to be in Trolls, so it's only gonna kind of match up to exactly the emotional wavelength you're trying to clue into.
Like when Poppy sings "Hello Darkness, My Old Friend" to Branch when they're just chilling at the campfire, I feel like maybe that wasn't the point of the song when they wrote it. And I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but I just don't think that Poppy truly understands "Hello Darkness, My Old Friend."
But this movie, I mean, it still does that a couple of times. But more often than not, they are singing pop songs as diegetic pop songs. They're like, oh, this is a song that I'm gonna sing. Which is a totally different can of worms.
What's really weird, though, is that I noticed this, because in the first movie, they're just doing covers of the songs. But in the second movie, they're, like, changing lyrics of the songs to fit what's going on in the movie.
Because trolls just want to have fun.
Yeah, and when they did that, then I just didn't know what the fuck we were doing anymore. Because I thought we were just singing pop songs so that we could sell the album to children and parents would recognize the covers. That's what I thought we were doing. But then when Poppy sings Trolls Just Want to Have Fun, and then Branch interrupts Trolls Just Want to Have Fun to sing a verse about how he's in love with Poppy, I'm like, but that's not how that song goes.
Yeah.
And the children don't know that. So now the children are going to think that Girls Just Want to Have Fun
is about trolls and Justin Timberlake.
A, about trolls, and B, has this weird verse that Branch sings in it. And it doesn't have either of those things. And now I just don't know what we're doing.
Right, and here's the thing about Branch's verse in Trolls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yes.
Is that, first of all, I hate every part of that sentence. Second of all, you have Justin Timberlake is phoning in this performance so goddamn hard.
Yeah.
And especially in his singing capacity.
Well, because what was weird about
this... I mean, Trolls Just Want to... First of all, it's Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah.
He's like one of the most vocally versatile male pop stars that is working today, right?
Yeah.
He's an incredible vocalist. And for this song, they decided to have him sing... Trolls just want to have fun. Oh, trolls just want to have... Like, perfectly baritone, in no way strenuous or... difficult to do, like the most boring possible arrangement to hand to Justin Timberlake to have him sing. I don't get that at all.
And I'm trying to think of Branch's character this whole movie, because what was fun about the Trolls movie is that you had all these big names like Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake, and they were in these like silly roles, but like Justin Timberlake was like doing comedic things and like making character choices, because Branch was like this solemn, like stick in the mud while everyone else was super happy. So he was like making funny acting decisions. But in this movie where Branch is just like happy to go along, and it's just about, and he's just being Kristoff from Frozen 2 the whole movie, I feel like his performance isn't as good either. Like he has like his emotional like sad part where he's like, oh man, Poppy won't listen to me, I'm sad now. And he's not that sad. He's way sadder in the first movie when he talks about his grandma getting eaten or whatever. Like, it doesn't, I don't feel anything, and I felt something in the first movie.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I feel like, I just think every line reading Justin Timberlake delivers in this movie is just like the most boring, most obvious, like, non-thought requiring delivery. And this guy was like the third lead in The Social Network, right?
Yeah.
Like, Justin Timberlake can fucking tear it up when he wants to.
Yeah.
But, and I don't know, I don't remember what he was like in the first movie. I'm sure he was fine. But it didn't stand out to me as being flat and boring, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's in the first movie, but he's the stick in the mud around all these. He's playing the straight man, and it's very effective.
Right.
And then there's moments when he breaks that. Like, there's that moment when they're talking to the cloud, and they, like, high-five, and he, like, grabs a stick and, like, breaks it in half and, like, starts screaming. And, like, that's funny because he's been playing the straight man the whole movie.
Right.
So when he breaks it, it's funny. And you've also got a better character relationship between Poppy and Branch, because Branch is still a stick in the mud, and Poppy is all happy, and he has to, like, control her, and that's, like, where the character conflict comes in. And in the second one, when he's, like, in love with her and is just trying to make her happy, he's just a yes man the whole movie. And I get that that's a plot point, but it's, like, boring. And the conflict becomes that just, like, Poppy just isn't listening to me, but I have only been saying that I agree with her just because I like her. Like, the conflict isn't as interesting either, because it's just, like, I'm being boring intentionally, and I wish I wasn't being boring, but I'm being boring because I want you to be happy. And it's like, well, that's fine for character-wise. But acting-wise and the rest of the movie-wise, it's kind of boring because Branch is just kind of there.
Right. So, okay. If you had to say one thing that this movie, that Trolls World Tour, is about, what would you say that it is? This is a trick question.
If you say, I don't see color, you're a dumbass.
See, here's my thing about it.
Yes.
There are about 400 different thematic ideas in this movie.
You would be right.
None of which get the appropriate emphasis to be a central theme of the movie, right?
They're all adjacent, though. They're all basically
I don't
the
even
same,
think so.
But they're a little bit different.
At the beginning, Poppy's like, oh, I don't want to fight. We don't know if they want to fight. We should just be diplomatic and solve things without violence. And Branch is like, well, but you never know. And you think that's what the movie's going to be about. But then once they find out that they are actually bad guys, they don't talk about that ever again. And then, like, it's sudden, generally it becomes about, like, appreciating music and being open-minded about other people's things. And that, carries through, but there's also, I'm just going to list a whole bunch of things that this movie wants to be about.
Okay, great.
And it's also, there's that whole thing about how Branch wants to use the manual and do things right, and Poppy wants to be more spontaneous, and that doesn't always work out. That's brought up a handful of times. There's the whole thing about how Poppy's not really very good at listening, and Justin Timberlake is. So it's sort of about the value of listening to people and not steamrolling other people's ideas, and that's a whole other thing. And then they take, like, 20 minutes in, like, the third act of the movie to just, like, do this weird thing about colonialism and cultural appropriation that's, like, weirdly impactful and salient in that moment, but then totally is not relevant for the rest of the movie at all. So that's just done. And then they're like, oh, and people are different and we should value that. And you're like, God damn it. Like, what is going on with this movie? Like, it's insane. Like, every 10 minutes it wants to be about something different. That's
fair. That's fair.
Like, and talking about the whole colonialism thing, I was... So, okay, the first 20 minutes of this movie are the most annoying 20 minutes of any movie I've ever seen.
Can I just say this? The opening of this movie kind of fucking sucks. It is
really
it kind
long. Of blows, and it's just
so
like
long.
It's ugly and garish, and they're constantly singing bad arrangements of annoying songs, with the expectation that you're eating it up with a spoon, which you're not.
I'm talking about the very beginning with the techno trolls, and we see them get taken over
that
by the
also
rock
blows.
Trolls.
I'll get to that in a second.
Long. It takes so long.
Right, and like, it's just so annoying. But so yeah, with the techno trolls, my big, God damn it, I have so many different things, and I can't figure out what order to put them in. That's going to be the most effective. This is a big point, okay? I have a lot of these for this movie.
Okay, great.
This is the tone I was more expecting to go in this podcast, right?
I'm just watching you go insane.
I know, you are, because it's insane. Okay. It's not even... I don't think this movie really cares that much about actually visualizing music, right? Like, the techno pop, or the I don't know, the EDM trolls at the beginning... That sequence where they're all dancing to One More Time, whatever, which is a pop song, but whatever.
It's not techno music.
It's, like, not even cool. There's, like, some guys, and then they're like, oh, and then the beat's gonna drop, and they're like, oh, and the beat drops, and then, like, it's kind of boring and not that cool, and visually nothing really
it's
happens.
kind of just the same, like in pop songs when they drop the beat and it's just
Yeah.
the chorus again.
Like, I think the thing that this movie needs to be, first and foremost, is passionate about music.
Yeah.
And I think that it is a little bit passionate about music, but I don't think that passion comes through when it comes to visualizing what different kinds of music are and what different kinds of music do, you know?
Yeah.
I
mean,
think that
think
the
they
rock
touch
music...
on it.
Yeah.
Like, because you have the country trolls, and Poppy has that line, she's like, they don't know that music is supposed to make you happy. And, like, that's, like, a really interesting point. That's, like, pop music is supposed to be, like, a happy, like, dancey thing. But, like, so is techno music. But, and, they touch the point, and then they don't really, like, go back to that, which they do with a lot of things. Or they're, like...
Right.
They're talking about the differences between the types of music, but also how they go together, but they don't really bring that up again. Like, Longlegs McGee, whose name was never told to me, and I will never remember, he's
Right.
like, oh, I'm pop and funk, and my brother is hip-hop, which
Right.
I thought was just pop music, but maybe that's my fault. But... But it's like there are ways that the music like really like fits in together. Like if they got to the country place and they were like, "Oh, pop music fucking sucks. We're the country people." But then Branch was like, "Poppy, you can't just give them pop instead of country music." And then Branch starts singing like Uptown Road or something. I would be like, hell yeah, this is dope. Like because
Uptown
you're teaching.
Road.
What the fuck is that song called?
Old Town Road.
I forgot what this Old Town Road.
They absolutely should have played Old Town Road. You just wrote a way better version of that scene. Even though I think it would still be annoying, it would still make more sense than what actually
because
happened.
it'd be Branch being like, Poppy, you're not listening to these people and what they like about country music. You're just trying to, because it goes back to the listening thing too. You're just replacing country with pop, and that's not the point of this. We're trying to bring everybody together. And then Branch sings Horsetown Road.
Uptown Horse.
Horse Road.
Oh man, I am up Horse Road without a paddle right now.
I am up a horse road.
Okay.
God. Can I just say, I'm really upset with how they handled Hickory, because I loved Hickory.
Right.
Maybe I just have a soft spot for cowboy characters, but when Hickory showed up, I was just like, fuck yeah, cowboy dude, I love it. And then he is revealed to be a bad guy, and then we never see him ever again.
Right, it's like he was a bad guy. See ya. Yeah. Okay, so just a second. What I was talking about before was not necessarily so much about, like, caring about music and, like, describing what it does. I mean, just in terms of the visuals, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted there to be a thoughtful, like, visual representation of each of these different kinds of music that plays really strongly and really gets to the core of something about the different kinds of music, right? I think the, like, red and white zigzags for the rock music are kind of cool, which is sort of what I want out of this whole thing, but they don't do anything even a little bit like that for any of the other kinds of music. Mm-hmm. I think that the styles of music should translate really strongly visually. That's what I was trying to say earlier. But so okay, yeah, just speaking of the rock and roll stuff, I think the reason I'm bothered by the non-color palette of the Trolls world, the pop Trolls world, it's weird to call them pop Trolls now because they were just Trolls before, but whatever. Yeah, is that once you get to other places and it actually looks good, and like the movie is really beautiful in a lot of places.
Oh yeah.
Like, my favorite is the, like, weird Fury Road sequence where they're, like, in the cars going across this, like, desert, and it's, like, kind of cloudy and gray, but, like, punctuated by, like, the red of the rock trolls, you know?
Yeah.
Love that. Looks great. And you're like, these are intelligently made design decisions that I'm really on board with. And then whenever you go back to the pop trolls, it just doesn't cut the mustard anymore. You're like, this is hideous. Like,
okay, but
is ugly to look at.
That one area in the Paw Patrol's world where the string is kept, where they got that waterfall, but the waterfall is like confetti.
That's cool. That's kind of cool.
That's cool as shit. I like looking at that thing. That thing's
pretty
cool.
Good. I'm looking through my notes.
Hey,
it cracks me up that.
Hey, Jackson.
Sure.
Hey. Where the fuck is my ska troll?
I know. I was watching this with
Where
Anna.
is he?
I was watching this with Anna, and she literally said the exact same thing.
Okay, first of all, this movie tries to be a thing, like, all different types of music are, like, important and cool and interesting in their own way, and then they never fucking talk about classical music, like, even one time.
Yeah, and that's what cracks me up, is they go out of their way to make sure that the classical music trolls get destroyed off screen, so you don't have to listen to any classical music.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, heaven forbid that actually happens.
But I just wanted some, like, classical troll with, like, a trombone and a trumpet, and then one of the rock trolls with their fucking guitar to, like, stand next to each other, and they'd be like, we could combine our magic powers to create ska music, the perfect form of music. And I'd be like, yes, thank you. You've learned the lesson of the movie, which is ska music is the best kind of music.
You know what I kind of want? I want this movie to be like, what was the old iPhone game where you started with, like, earth, fire, water, and air, and you, like, mixed them together in different combinations, you would make all kinds of things.
Like, I know
you
exactly
put earth
what you're talking about, and I can't think of what it's called.
You, like, put earth and fire together, and it makes, like, pottery or something, and then you put pottery and water together, and it makes, like, a dish or whatever. Those are bad examples, but, like, and you, like, try to, like, fill out the whole Pokédex of objects by, like, finding the different combinations. I want this movie to be that, like, with music. Like, you have 4 base elements. You're, like, classical, jazz, pop, or, like, rock and, like, hip-hop. And then from there, you, like, mix and match and keep moving them together until you get, like, late 90s post-grunge SoCal with, like, Smash Mouth and Fountains of Wayne, right?
Well, I think this is another thing that they kind of touched on when you meet Hip Hop Brother, and Poppy's like, what even is hip hop? I don't know what that is, which is BS, because they definitely sang hip hop songs in the first Trolls movie, but we're gonna ignore it. Also,
this movie has a really loose grasp on genre.
A pop song? Is that what we're just gonna say? Anyway, But she's like, I've never heard of hip hop, and I look down at my map, and there's not like a hip hop trolls area, and he's like, oh, your map is out of date, and then we like get all these different like kind of subgenres of trolls who have like their own kind of music, and I wish that was a theme too, that it's like you're trying to label all these groups of people as hip hop or as pop or rock, and it's like that's not how music works. Music is really fluid in between all these genres, and like they touch on it. They're so close to talking about it, but they don't.
And this movie, like, just touches on a lot of things like that. Because it's about 40 million things, and it can't settle on what it actually wants to talk about.
Yes.
Okay. I want to reiterate again how deeply, deeply irritating it is whenever they sing pop songs, right?
Yeah, well, but the thing about it is that it's like, it's because for some reason the whole point of the movie is that people keep shitting on pop music because they're like, oh, it's repetitive and it's empty and it's just about the music, blah blah blah, and it's like I'm waiting for the movie to prove those people wrong,
to like stand up for pop music.
Is really good pop music.
Right.
But what they do is that whenever they want to show off pop music, they needle drop, like, the worst songs possible.
I know.
And the songs that are most annoying to hear Anna Kendrick sing.
Yeah.
So when Anna Kendrick sings
Oppa Gangnam
Trolls
Style.
Just Want to Have Fun, and Who Let the Dogs Out, and some other third thing, I'm just like, oh my god, like, there's good music exists, and you didn't choose any of it.
See, so, like, at this point, they're kind of self-aware about it, right? Like, the joke is that they sing all these bad pop songs, and the country trolls don't like it, and they put them in jail, right?
Yeah.
But if they were truly being self-aware about it, if they didn't truly think those songs are annoying, they wouldn't have made you listen to them sing them. I think, like, a great piece of punch-up would be, like, they, like, reconvene, they're like, we gotta convert them on the merits of pop music. We gotta sing the most important songs of all time. I'm talking Who Let the Dogs Out. I'm talking Oppa Gangnam Style. And then just hard cut to them in jail.
Yeah.
Like, just like make that. I think that would be hilarious. Like,
I don't know
but
how
if
they
the
got
movie,
permission to sing Oppa Gangnam Style, because Psy, like, fucking hates America. Like, he kind of wishes
Right.
capitalism and all of us were dead. So I have no idea how they got this song in Trolls 2. I really don't know.
I don't know. I have no knowledge of this.
I just don't know. I don't understand it. Anyway.
And so I'm looking through my notes. I wrote down about when Mr. Dinkles meets God. I thought that was funny.
What? I fucking hate Mr. Dinkles. I hate him.
So, okay.
I hate
For
him
the
in
fans
the
at
first
home.
movie. I hate him now. Also, what's the whole thing with Biggie? That whole plot point with him where he's like, I don't want to go with you, Branchy. I think it's just about Poppy not listening. But he's like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is a bad idea. I don't want to go with you. And she's like, no, you should go with me, but I pinky promise that I won't let any danger come to you. And he's like, okay. And then they go, and then danger happens. And then Biggie's like, fuck you. I got hurt a little bit. Peace out, bitch. And then he
Right.
does that, and then he feels bad, and then we never come back to that ever again.
I am waiting for James Corden to, like, take a prestige movie from A24 or Neon or something and, like, win Best Supporting Actor. Like, one of these days, he's gonna, like, bust out of his shell and deliver some insane performance, and everyone's gonna be blown away, and he'll be America's sweetheart forever. But as of right now, his film career is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It's Trolls and Peter Rabbit and the Emoji Movie. And,
Yeah.
like, he's gotta get it together. Like,
Yeah.
one of these days, I swear to God, he's gonna pull an Adam Sandler and be in something that's just so insane and so great that nobody can ignore it, and then go right back to being annoying again immediately afterwards.
Which is fine. That you can be annoying. You have to do one good thing, and then you can
Right.
be annoying.
In order to
These are
justify
the
being
rules.
annoying. So
Can we talk about how Ozzy Osbourne is in this movie?
yeah, he actually is, which is bad. Don't like it. Okay. There's this bit in the movie where I'm trying to think about how to express this. So
Okay.
they find the Funk Trolls, and the Funk Trolls. Sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat because I haven't been talking that much today. And I have coronavirus. They go to the Funk Trolls, and first of all, I want to just sort of commend this movie on how conscientious it is about, like, the race politics of music, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the coding is really, like, accurate and respectful of the cultures that actually created the music that they're talking about, which
Yeah.
I think is an easy thing to mess up, and they were conscientious and did that really well.
Especially when you have to turn them into little monsters. Like, they did a good job of, like, this person is black coded, but it looks like a really nice and, like, effective way of doing that.
Right.
And also they're a four-legged goat person, but, like, it's not offensive. It still looks fine. And it's like,
Right.
okay, good, great. You did a good job.
Right, yeah. So, when they get to the Funk Trolls, which is, okay, and I mean, I don't know, it's a weird criticism now because they kind of address it in the movie, but breaking down music into its basest elements and making them pop, electronic music, classical music, funk, and country music, and what's the other one? Rock.
Rock.
Is
you're
insane.
right.
It's insane. It's an insane way to group music. But
Yeah.
then
Well, just to
it
say
kind
that,
of
like, rock and pop have, like, nothing in common is, like, just, like, wrong. Especially with,
the
like,
only
funk,
difference
too.
the only difference between rock and pop is, like, what kind of music you're playing or what kind of instruments you're playing the music
Yeah.
on. Anyway, but they tell this whole story about how, like, the pop trolls, like, long ago started co-opting all the different kinds of music for themselves and almost became, like, this colonialist, like, dictator, like, appropriating all of the different kinds of music and taking it for themselves, which is a really effective and really salient point about like the appropriation of pop music and how it's constantly being taken from minority subcultures and rejiggered into something more palatable for a wider audience and suddenly being sort of taken away from the people who invented it, right?
Yeah.
You see it over and over and over again. And that is like an insanely well-constructed metaphor that really, really works and is interesting. And at this point, I've sat through like an hour and 10 minutes of annoying-ass trolls singing pop songs.
Basically, you're not allowed to make a good point anymore.
Yeah,
because
and
we've
like,
been here
and then
too
we
long.
hit that point, and I'm like, I mean, look, it's not an hour in. I think it's more like 30 or 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
So I was expecting it to like take a heel turn and like become about something more important and like take itself a little bit more seriously now that we sort of turned that corner, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so into that. I was like, this is cool and interesting, and I'm ready to accept this movie, like heading in a different
open
direction.
arms.
Yeah, I'm like, let's go, Trolls 2. I'm into it. You had me, you got me. Let's go. And then they just immediately drop it. They're like, anyway, rock trolls? That's crazy, right? Let's sing Spice Girls. And you're like, fuck, no, god damn it, stop.
Oh, you're so close to making a good point, but you just won't stop singing Uptown Dog Horse just to do it.
Up Dog Funk.
Up Dog Horse. Why can't I remember Old Town Road? That's really bugging me. Why did I say Uptown Road?
I don't know. And then and so they're kind of in conversation with this whole idea that music is nuanced and you can't break it down into like these big chunks like they kind of do in this movie, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that they do that is they introduce these individual trolls that represent different genres. So there's like the smooth jazz
villains.
troll. I mean, yeah, but that's just because that's the framing. I don't think it has to do with the kind of music. Yeah. There's like the smooth jazz troll and the K-pop trolls and the reggaeton trolls. And I just want to point out that they only ever use one song for the reggaeton trolls, which is whatever. They couldn't look up a second reggaeton song.
They didn't research techno music. You think they're gonna research anything more nuanced than that?
And then one of them are like the yodeling trolls. And it drives me crazy that they couldn't use any actual, like, German folk music. They had to just use the sample from the rock song that's in Baby Driver so people kind of know it as the yodeling representation in this movie. It's like, come on! If you're going to do this, you have to care about each of these kinds of music that you're bringing up, you know?
If Hickory's ass came to life and then put on some checkered slip-on Vans and a fedora and they were like, what's up, we're the ska trolls, me and my buddy here, I would be so happy.
Right.
Oh my god. But yeah, it's just it's weird. Like, the movie is trying to set up that, like, there isn't a hierarchy of music, that all music is the same.
Right.
But then we get back to we need to sell an album that both parents and children will enjoy.
Right.
And the yodeling just doesn't fit in there. Classical doesn't fit in there.
Right.
Real techno music doesn't really fit in there.
Yeah.
So we gotta babyfy it a little bit. But then that kind of goes against the point of the movie.
You want to know a joke that I would write in if I were writing this movie?
What would you write in?
I would have one of the mercenaries be like math rock trolls.
Yeah.
And they would be like, hi, how's it going? Well, that's cool. I wish. Just like interrupting them with annoying math rock every time they start to talk.
That would be funny. I would laugh.
That'd be
probably.
Great.
That's good.
That would be my Trolls 2 joke.
There we go.
I think I could take this concept. I think I could write a really good movie. I'm just saying.
I know, it's a really fun concept because like the first Trolls movie was just about like, I forget what the moral of the Trolls movie was. It was something like music is a way to express yourself in a positive way, and everybody needs a positive outlet.
No, it was like you don't need drugs to be happy.
Yeah,
because it was all about, which is like, okay, except that maybe sometimes you do, but whatever.
Yeah, we're not. They're talking about recreational drugs, but Jackson.
The bad kind of drugs.
The bad drugs. But anyway, maybe, yeah, wait, do you want there to be one bummer guy who's just like, oh, I have clinical depression, and he's the only one who's allowed to keep eating trolls because he's got a deficiency in his brain, so he's the only one who's allowed to keep eating trolls? Is that what you want, Jackson?
Yeah, no, there's one goblin who eats a troll, and he's like, I actually feel pretty good. I feel sort of back to my baseline, and now I can, put more emphasis on exercise and a healthy diet in order to make myself feel better. You're like, oh, nice. Good on you, buddy.
And then they all break dance or whatever.
I can't stop the feeling.
Got this troll in my body.
And then the one who's depressed is like, can't start the feeling, and we all laugh. Anyway, you get that joke?
I gotta say, I
Can't
really
start the
like.
feeling,
I
'cause he's
really.
depressed.
Can I? God.
This podcast is like the math rock of podcasts.
If Math Rock was a podcast. Anyway, I really like the character design. I guess I just really like the performance of the lady who's playing Barb. I didn't recognize her name immediately, but I'm sure she's some famous singer.
Yeah, for some reason my instinct was to say Sally Fields, but that's super not right.
Yeah, no, that's not right. Are you Googling it?
I'm Googling it, yeah.
Okay.
Rachel Bloom. She is... one sec. Yeah, she's just kind of a voice actress. She's just kind of around. You wouldn't, know her from anything, but she's in,
Anna Kendrick.
She's on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle show, and she was in Angry Birds 2, and stuff
Which
like
I've heard
that.
was actually okay, and I don't know what to do with that information.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, because the first one was, anti-immigration.
Because the first one was
about how all
Grab the movie, and then also about anti-immigration.
Yeah, well, it was just Jason Sudeikis being like, why are all these pigs coming over the border and stealing our jobs? Let's kill them. You're like, okay, fine, I guess.
And you're like, okay, little Timmy, we need to leave the theater immediately. But anyway, I really like her performance as Barb. She really feels like a teenage girl who likes rock. She's kind of insecure, and she's got her group of friends, and this is what they do, and her relationship with her dad is just really funny. I just really enjoy her character.
Yeah. And I think this movie is in conversation with a really specific real world phenomenon, right? Which is kids thinking they're smart for not liking pop music.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody in the world goes through this phase when they turn 11. And they figure out, they learn who Van Halen is and think they're hot shit.
Yeah.
And this movie feels really specifically a response to that real world phenomenon, which I think is cool. I think in a way it is sort of, it's deeply political in the truest sense of the word, meaning that it wants to enact a change in the world, which is, let's see if we can imprint on kids that music is cool and you shouldn't be a douchehole about it.
Yeah, well, because when Barb shows up to all the different places, the things that she says are things that people say when she, shows up to Technoland, and she's like, you making bloops and bleeps isn't music, or she shows up to classical, and she's like, this shit's boring, dog. And she's right, but she shouldn't say it. And then she goes to Pop Music Land, and she's like, you got empty lyrics and just, basic sounds, and you repeat the same thing over and over again. It's these are things that people say. But that's not all of that genre of music. There are good classical songs. I haven't found one yet, zing, but it exists.
God damn it, Adeline.
What?
You're not making a good case.
I know.
Every single one of these genres you've brought up so far has been and it sucks. So.
But it's saying that that line of thinking that definitely
totally.
is wrong, and it's flawed, and it's it shits on people who like that thing. So why would you say that?
But then the weird thing about it is that in its own weird way, it feels contemptuous of pop music, while simultaneously bludgeoning you over the head with pop music at every possible opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know what the... Okay, I'll bring it up again, that sequence where they're we gotta sell them on pop music, and then they go... And it's not they're playing, genuinely beloved pop music that people respond to and love.
Mm-hmm.
They're going out of their way to pick punchline pop music. They're singing the Baha Men and Oppa Gangnam Style, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the joke of the sequence, is that they're taking the most insane, most awful extreme of pop music, and but if the joke really thought that pop music wasn't as valuable, then they wouldn't have made us sit there and listen to it. I know I said this exact same thing before, but that sequence I've been playing it over in my mind ever since we watched it, and I can't figure out what the intent is when you write that. Like, I don't get it.
You've just been sitting in a room hitting repeat on that scene for like 20 minutes.
Because, like, I don't know, and I guess it's like you write that scene as a gag, but I don't know, maybe he just thought that actually hearing the music would be funny.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's kind of a double think of, like,
right.
The trolls are trying to show the best of the genre, but the best of the genre is all these annoying songs, and that's funny. And it's also a bunch of songs we can put on that dope-ass Kids album that we're gonna make.
Exactly.
So it it is like that double think of, like, art versus corporate, kind of. I feel I do really think that sometimes, like, the capitalism of creating, like, movies and stuff, like, really infringes on the art sometimes, but I don't like to, like, split it up into, like, two entities of, like, the artists and the capitalists, because I feel like that's just not true. I feel like the artists are also in on the capitalist, like, way of, like, thinking and, like, selling the art to the audience. So to be like, oh no, it's not the artist, it's some weird bad guy over there, and not that there's a problem with the artists making the art in the first place, you know?
Yeah, and the opposite is also true. You know, I think one of the things that I really took away, one of my professors at my school right now, he was a Hollywood producer for a long time. He was the sole producer. He was the guy who made Austin Powers 2 happen.
That's his fault.
But, like, he spoke really passionately about, like, you know, your job as a producer is to create something that's going to turn a profit, right? Mm-hmm. You and all of the people you bring together for this project, you're on the hook for their financial well-being, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to make something that will allow them to continue making cool things. But the only way that you can continue to make cool things is to make something that's actually good in the first place. Mm-hmm. And he, you know, and, like, obviously there's a give and take to it, but he was really passionate about working with directors and making sure that, you know, having to intervene and, you know, be rational about things and sometimes having to be the bad guy, but at the same time, like, wanting to make something that has real value at the end of the day, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's just something that I really took away from that class, is that, you know, nobody in the films industry doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants to make something good. Nobody goes out of their way to make a bad movie. Anyway.
Yeah, that's why I think bad movies are so interesting, because it's like, this is like a group of like 1,000 people who all gave a shit, and then it took like one thing to just like fully drive the train into the ocean, and it's just crazy.
Right, yeah. By the way, okay, this is something from way at the beginning I just forgot to mention.
Yeah.
DreamWorks doesn't need a big fancy legacy title card.
They did that, and it's like shots from like 4 different movies. And I'm like, wow. We got Kung Fu Panda and Trolls, and I'm like, oh wow.
Because
DreamWorks.
Nowadays everybody needs to have a big dramatic, like, prestige title card like Marvel does, right?
Well, but when it's Marvel or Disney, it's because they've been around since like the 40s, and they do have a massive like work of like things that they could show off. But when it's DreamWorks, who's been around since like the 90s,
right?
So they got
and
like
it's
10 movies tops, and it's all of those shots are from the same 10 movies, and I can see 2 shots from Kung Fu Panda right next to each other on your title card thingy.
Maybe there are different Kung Fu Panda movies.
They could have been.
But yeah, like, Marvel.
I watched Kung Fu Panda 2 yesterday. That movie rips, and it's great, and I love it.
Okay, maybe we can do Kung Fu Panda 2 sometime soon.
It's so good.
We should do the 3 Kung Fu Pandas, because I still sustain that they're mostly exactly the same, and each of them are as good as the others.
No. Second one's the best. First one is the second best. The third one is forgettable.
Okay.
Okay.
But, like, Marvel was the first people to do the big... I love this gag. The so like Marvel was the first people to do this big dramatic, like overly long, self-indulgent title card.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, on the one hand, some people really hate it. I don't mind it because I think that title card specifically is cool and I like watching it.
It's really pretty. Like, it's
yeah.
really pretty.
And some people don't like that they got rid of the old, like, comic book page flippy one, but I don't know. I still like the new one better. Anyway, and then, you know, from there, Star Wars has one now. At the beginning of The Mandalorian, they have this weird little, like, legacy title. And DreamWorks just debuted theirs with this movie. And there's some other big example I'm forgetting. But the one that cracked me up was at the beginning of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega has this big self-indulgent title card where it shows you, like, flipping through, like, screenshots of, like, Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Monkey Ball and Knights and shit. And you're like, you have not earned this.
I wish that Sega understood that no one gives a shit about Sega.
I know.
Because they've got Sonic, but that's it. They haven't even had their own console since the Dreamcast. If
I
you
think
want to
Sega should get a new
Sega game,
console.
you gotta play it on a Nintendo console.
Right.
Because Sega has been in debt and slowly dying since the beginning of time.
I want to point out, first of all, I think Sega should just surprise drop a new console like they did with the Dreamcast. Just get on stage.
Then I would support them if they would get off their ass and make their own fucking console.
Just get on the stage at E3 and be like, hey, we're Sega. We just made the best Sonic game ever made, and it's exclusive on the Sega Jupiter Extreme, available at GameStop today. It is a microchip, and you plug it into your TV, and it
breaks your TV.
breaks the internet. And everyone's like, oh, what the fuck? I just described Google Stadia, I think. Anyway. But if it was just like some insane, crazy, weird console that they just like surprised. Did you hear about how they did that with the Dreamcast?
No, I didn't.
Literally, they got on stage at E3 and they were like, check out the Dreamcast. It's the first console with internet. It's got a weird little Tamagotchi you could put in the controller. It's gonna launch with a Sonic game called Sonic Adventure. And anyway, if you go to GameStop today, you can go buy one. And everyone was like, whoa, what?
What the what?
Then somehow it still flopped? I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, man, Sega. God.
But,
Sega,
like, that's just, like, one of the most insane. Like, I love that. I wish that people would do that more often.
I know. Just, like, drop things. Just be like, here's this thing. Well, because, like, I feel like with, like, modern journalism, especially about, like, video games, is that, like, we know when something's happened. It's because they announce it so early, because, like, there's such, like, a big, like, hype is so important in the video games industry for some reason.
Right.
And
that's why a lot of people say that the Dreamcast flopped. Like, there wasn't enough time to, like, get people excited about it.
Yeah, but that's
when it
so
was just
weird.
here, like, a whole bunch of people went out and bought it, but there wasn't, like, a groundswell of people, like, pre-ordering and making sure to get it and, like, you know.
Yeah.
And
well,
stores also didn't really have
like
the infrastructure.
years and years in advance. Like, they'll just be like, oh, we're working on something, winky face. And it's like,
Right.
I don't care. They're like,
Right.
maybe, what's the game with the face hugger, and there's two of them, and people.
Oh,
are waiting for
Half-Life?
the third one. Yeah, maybe Half-Life 3, wink. And I'm like, fuck off. I don't care.
Right. See, but what I would say is that I don't think a surprise drop needs to be a complete surprise. Like, I think about Cloverfield Paradox. Mm-hmm. Because we all knew there was a Cloverfield movie coming. We knew there was a movie called The Cloverfield Paradox, and it had wrapped production, but they hadn't announced a release date yet, and we didn't really know anything about it, and there wasn't a trailer yet, right? Mm-hmm. And we were like, I wonder what that's about. And then America, sitting on the couch at the Super Bowl, they were like, hey, Cloverfield Paradox, it's on Netflix today. And we're all like, oh, what the hell, that rules. Mm-hmm. So I think that, and I think about how with the Switch, they called it the NX for so long, and it was like a big secret.
Yeah.
And, like, we knew there was a console coming, and we knew it was going to be, like, the next-gen Nintendo. But if they were like, here it is, it's the Switch, you knew it was something, but now we can tell you what exactly it is, and go to GameStop and buy it today.
Well, the thing with
know?
Nintendo, too, with, like, their consoles and stuff, is that there is definitely more hype because you don't know what it's gonna be. When Sony
Right.
is like, the PlayStation 5, I'm like, cool, another black rectangle. But when
Right.
Nintendo is like, we're gonna drop a new thing and it's called the Switch, you're like, what the fuck is that thing gonna be? It's gonna
Right.
be like a Rubik's Cube with like buttons and screens on it. Like,
Right, yeah. No, and I think it's so funny that, like, looking back on it, because all we knew about it was that they were making a new console because the Wii U was not doing well.
yeah,
And basically
which it didn't
everybody
deserve.
it seemed to be on the same page that they're like, Nintendo's done with the gimmicks, right? Like, the Wii U bombed. I think they're afraid of it. The NX is just going to be a black rectangle that you can play Zelda on. And they're going to make
Gonna be
it...
a Zelda rectangle.
Yeah, it's going to be a Zelda and Mario rectangle. They're going to make it, you know, have a regular-ass controller that you hold with two hands like a human. And, like, they'll make sure it's really powerful so it can have, like, third-party games on it. Everyone was like, I think this is Nintendo's time to finally go boring. And then, like, they announced what the Switch was, and everyone just lost their goddamn minds, because it's the coolest thing in the world.
It's so
And, like,
cool.
the fact that we were all so sure they were about to do something lame just made the fact that they did the coolest thing ever that much cooler.
I know, yeah. God.
Going back to Trolls World Tour,
Yeah, uh-huh.
my favorite bit in this movie is... Oh, one sec. Yeah, just sign for it. Like I said... Oh, okay, cool. Can you bring it inside?
Jackson's Pizza is here.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is inside. We're not leaving it on the porch.
Oh, okay. So everything's good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank
It's
you
a
for
pizza
interrupting me.
emergency.
Okay, thank you.
Your
Put it on the
pizza has
table
arrived.
and leave me alone.
Hi, Adeline.
Hi!
You're my favorite. Jackson's my second favorite.
Yay!
Put the pizza... Go put it on the table.
You want some pizza?
Stop looking at me.
Anna, I would never treat you like this. I just want you to know.
Okay. Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't know whether I'm going to keep that in or not. I ordered a pizza and it came, and my roommates felt the need to interrupt me and tell me that it came. Anyway. So, at the end of the movie, Poppy, or like... What, okay, first of all, I think that if they're going to just rip off Infinity War for this movie, they should have ended the movie when Poppy broke all the strings and all the color got sucked out of the world and there was no more music. It'd be like, Branch will return in Trolls Endgame. First of all... go ahead.
One thing is that two things I don't get. Okay, so she's like, I'm gonna turn... The whole movie, she's like, I'm gonna, like, unite everyone. Everyone's gonna love rock and roll, and we will be united in, like, this, like, awesome genre of music that we're all super into. But then we get to the end of the movie, and she's like, I'm gonna turn you all into rock zombies. Like, it's like against their will, and it's like they don't actually like rock and roll, and it's like, what the?
Right.
But that's not what you want. So why are you like, hey, now?
Yeah.
And
So-
then second of all, so Branch gets turned into a rock zombie, and that's fun. I wish it lasted for more than 2 seconds, but that's fun. But then Anna Kendrick gets turned into a rock zombie, but here's the thing, she doesn't because she's got gumdrops in her ears from earlier,
Of course.
which is fine. But then why is she all goth now if it didn't work?
Don't worry about it.
But why?
Here's what I wanted to say about it.
Okay.
So, in trying to stop... What's her name? What's the rock troll's name?
Oh, I really like her name, and now I can't remember. I said it earlier.
Mohawk.
Barb.
In trying to
It's
stop...
Barb.
Barb. In trying to stop Barb, Anna Kendrick messes up, breaks the strings. Everything turns into black and white. There's no more music left in the world. We had not established that that's what the strings do, but whatever.
But it's fine.
And then everyone works together to bring music back into the world. But because it was inside of us all along and you can make music with your body,
Yeah.
but that you always made music with your body, so what does that even mean?
Shut
It doesn't
up.
matter.
Shut up.
But I love that when everything's black and white, while they're trying to figure out how to bring music back for that brief moment, they're still, like, talking as if this was Barb's fault. They're like, we can thwart Barb's evil plan and bring music back. It's like, no, she didn't want to do that. Poppy messed that one up. This is Poppy's fault. You're thwarting Poppy's
Poppy
evil
did
plan
that.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're like still
Barb
talking
can't
about
take that
Barb as the
away.
bad
And
guy.
everyone's like, Poppy,
Yeah.
you fucked up.
Yeah, like Barb didn't try to take the music away. It's not what she wanted.
Yeah.
She wanted a different thing. Why is she still the bad guy?
Well, what I would have done, and this isn't in writing, this is in visual effects.
Uh-huh.
We've got our free flavors of music, and we have those 5 different colors. And when everybody like brings their music back, I think they should have been like having those 5 separate colors. Like still wasn't free enough. Like we were still kind of like, we didn't all want to be rock or we didn't all want to be pop, but like we also don't want to just be these 5 things.
Right.
So at the end, when they're like, oh, the music was inside of me all along, if then suddenly everybody was like their own color, and like even if they were like similar colors, everyone's like, oh, you can't contain music. Music is just like about how whatever you feel. I think that would have been a much better conclusion that was probably more on brand if they had done that, instead of just being like, you can still have funk music.
So, do we have anything else we want to say before we wrap up the episode and I can go eat my pizza?
I mean, what I really, really like, what
What you really, really, really want to zigga ah.
what I like so much about the Trolls movies, which makes it sound like I really like these movies and I don't, but what I do
Right.
like is that they make really like strong aesthetic choices, and I love that so much, especially in animation, where it's like, this could just be a really boring 3D animated movie with just trolls, and then it would just be fucking bad and annoying. But because they like just make these hard decisions, or like everything's gonna look like a scrapbook and it's gonna be tactile and dope as hell, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, I will sit here through Anna Kendrick singing pop songs because
Right.
everything is so pretty, and it's like I really respect them for doing that, because they absolutely didn't have to get little kids' ass in seats.
Right. Yeah,
You
I
just really
think
want to
that-
eat pizza, just admit it.
No. I think this movie is pretty much as good as the first one. I think it just has higher highs and lower lows than the first one.
That's fair.
I felt more deeply spiritually embarrassed by this one than I did the first one. But I also felt more gratified at certain times by this one than I did the first one.
Well, have you ever
So,
been
like,
more
I guess it
embarrassed?
all evens out.
Have you ever been more embarrassed than when they go to Bummerville for the first time and all of them are singing that gorilla song and you're just like, how the hell did the gorillas, who are like this high art concept band, like let their song be in Trolls 2 and just be like, oh, this was not their intention, but somehow it still happened.
I don't think that's nearly as bad as Trolls Just Want to Have Fun, Adeline.
That's okay. You know what? You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Trolls Just Want to Have Fun. Like, I might call the police.
Okay, because listen, like I think that Girls Just Want to Have Fun has its place. Sometimes when I hear
Of
that
course
song,
it does.
I'm like, hell yeah, this song is a fun time and I enjoy it. But it can also be used for evil, and this is one
Right.
of the times when it's used for evil.
Totally. Okay, so this is a weird situation because this movie is hot off the presses.
Oh, it's
We are watching and
scorching
talking
hot.
about this movie day one. And also, it's a movie that people don't care about.
no.
So there really isn't any good material in any review websites I found. I spent some time looking. I couldn't find anything that was really that funny because there's only like a dozen or so reviews on any given platform.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I don't really have a plan on how to end this besides just saying that you should follow us on Twitter
Yeah.
at NoNerdsPod, and we have an email address, nonerdspod@gmail.com. You should email us, ask us some questions, request a movie. I don't know, something like that.
Send us your review of Trolls 2, and
Yeah,
the
okay.
funniest one will be said on air.
That's it. No, what we should do
Okay, cool.
is no, I think we should do the opposite. We should say what movie we're gonna do next week, and ask people to write little 2-sentence reviews that they send to us if they've seen the movie,
Gotcha.
And then we pick one and we read it at the end for the next episode. Does that sound fun?
That sounds like fun.
I mean, look, and the reality of it is that 0 people will actually do that.
Yeah.
But someday, that
Yeah.
sounds fun to me. Anyway, and that's also a bad idea this time because we have not decided what movie we're going to do next time.
Yeah.
I'm talking to a couple of people that might be guests next week, and I don't know what movie they would want to pick, so
Yeah.
we're flying by the seat of our pants. We'll do Pokemon 3 and Star Wars 3 eventually. That's on the horizon. Anyway.
Oh, a triple feature.
So, yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Love ya.
Thanks.
This
cool
is like
dudes.
the worst ending we've ever done on this podcast because I don't
Yeah.
have a button for it, but I don't have any better ideas
I don't
unless
have
you've
anything
got something.
funny to say. We don't have anything to play off of.
Right.
Wake up in the morning.
Oh, I should also say I was watching it with Anna. Before we started it, we decided to make a bet on how many times they would floss in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to see that there was no flossing.
I know, and that's so nice. Like I don't know what it is about like hopping on trends.
What kind of movie do you have to be that's as when someone says they don't floss in it, somebody says, "I know, that was so nice."
Like, oh God, just imagine. Like that's the thing I didn't have to see, and I thank the world for that.
Did you ever see Sonic the Hedgehog?
No, I haven't seen Sonic the Hedgehog yet. I do know that he flosses.
Yeah, he flosses 2 discrete times in that movie.
And that's just one of the reasons why that movie's bad. Just
Yeah.
one of them.
Anyway, okay, that's all. Floss you later, listeners. Cool guys.